Hi there, and welcome back to another edition of Scale Up Radio, the podcast inspired by the entrepreneurial scale up system and designed to make navigating our scale up journeys that little bit easier by learning from each other's experiences. I'm Granger Forson, and on this episode of the show, I'm joined by Luke Doyle of Bravura Digital. Today, we delve into Luke's innovative approach to lead generation, his dedication to personalization client outreach, and his passion for coaching and team development. To ensure you don't miss any inspirational future episodes, do subscribe to Scale Up Radio wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. Also, you can nominate a guest for Scale Up Radio if you know someone with an interesting scale-up journey. You can find out how in the show notes. So, let's now go over and dive into the inspiring journey of tailored lead gen strategies, team building through coaching, finding more time for business owners, and industry transformation based on caring with Luke Doyle. So hello, Luke Doyle. Welcome to Scale Up Radio. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, Granger. Thank you for having me. I'm Luke. So I started my lead generation company 2 years ago with the intention to change the way the lead generation industry works. So I identified that in the market, there was a lot of companies that were using emails and essentially spamming their customers with emails to generate new business, and they were doing that on behalf of their clients. And I identified that actually I would quite like to do a lead generation business that helps people and their companies protect their brand while still doing lead generation.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, but it's an important aspect of every business owner as they grow and scale is getting that lead generation and getting that lead generation right. So give us the name of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Bravura Digital. So it's a slightly unusual name, but I came up with it when I first started my business. And the synonym for that is brave. So the idea is that with any lead generation, whether it be outreach or any marketing, the idea is that we want to be brave in our marketing and put ourselves out there.
So it's still just you at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment, it's just myself. So I'm operating as a consultant and coach and mentor within the lead generation space. So I identified early on that there were lots of companies out there trying to do lead generation for other companies, whereas I wanted to separate myself out by helping companies do lead generation internally as well. So it was about teaching and upskilling their team to improve lead generation and the number of leads they generate. And I found that early on, that was something that the people who I spoke to were more interested in upskilling their existing team than outsourcing it.
Yeah. Oh, I could definitely understand that as a very useful skill. If you can bring that to me and my team, we'll definitely be saying yes to that. So just describe your business model. How do you, you've talked about lead gen, you talked about being brave, you talked about coaching and mentoring. Describe your model, what you do, how you work with your clients.
Yeah, sure. So overall, every client gets a free consultation anyway. And within that, we look at potential opportunities that will allow them to fit lead generation into their business. And every strategy is completely different. And this is something that's quite unique about my business, is that I'll really take the time to understand everyone's business and their unique branding and personality and their business proposition. And then I alter the lead generation strategy to suit their type of business and individual requirements. And so it's been very interesting. What I tend to do is focus on companies that are high growth as well. And I think those companies that I work with, they tend to have one specific channel that works particularly well for them. So that could be SEO, or it could be calling customers directly. It could be they've used emails. It could be that they've done some paid advertising. But whatever the strategy is, they've done particularly well in one area, and then through meeting me, I'm able to identify new areas of opportunity and grow their lead generation strategy.
Right. So you're meeting a client, you're understanding them in detail where they are, what they're doing, where they're currently successful, and then you're finding other opportunities. So you talked about you don't just do it for them, but you actually do mentoring and coaching. So how does that then come into play?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a funny combination actually, because it does start out as lead generation is the main problem we're trying to solve. So the company speaks to me with the idea of generating more leads and more business to their to improve their bottom line. But actually, through the coaching and consulting part, I'll go in and I'll train the marketing person or their salesperson or both of them at the same time. And what we do is we then, through coaching and training and this mentoring piece, we're able to improve the processes internally between sales and marketing. And particularly what I found was that the for a certain size business, say 5 to 35 people within the business, if they don't have a leader within sales and marketing, and that person or that leader is actually the owner of the business, then the sales and marketing functions can take away from the owner's time, and they end up focusing a lot of their time and effort on improving sales marketing functions and managing the team and getting very involved because there's quite a lot of moving parts. And actually, by me being there, it smooths out the process and improves communication and from my experience, the owner's happier, the marketing person's happier, the salesperson's happier, and they're able to have clarity on what activities are happening and overall growth and growth of lead generation within their business.
So you're not just helping them grow through improving lead generation. You're not just focusing on improving the processes and the internal systems through coaching. You're actually liberating time for the business owner because they're usually frustrated with the people in the business that are not achieving what they want to do. So actually, you're a time saver then.
There is, yeah, there's absolutely that part of it. And it's usually the added benefit of this lead
Yeah.
generation sort of coaching that I'm doing
Yeah.
is the aim of it is to generate more leads. But actually the outcomes are that, yes, you do have more leads, but also the processes and the time saving part is a huge bit of it. And I think that's what really drives my customers to rate me so well. And I've been very, very fortunate to have worked with some amazing companies who have rated me 5 star and on all the different channels. And I think that's part of what my proposition is, that I want to show my customers that I care, but we also care about the customers and how they're approached and making it the best possible customer journey for them.
Yeah. Brilliant. So just going back to the beginning, you talked about um, there's too much out there with people that businesses that are trying to drum up work through emails and advertising, lots of spamming, sort of poor reputation of lead generation companies helping other businesses, and I've got my own opinion on that as well, which I don't think I'll use on this podcast, but. I'm intrigued. Why what was the frustrations that were there that you saw the gap in the marketplace and then you created the opportunity and jumped into it? What is going on that frustrates you that you are aiming to make successful?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of the lead generation companies that I've worked with as well. So previous to this, I've previously used many different lead generation companies to try and generate results on behalf of different companies, and the success was sometimes it was very good, sometimes it wasn't as good as expected. So overall, I could see the value in the automations that you could use within your business, and whether that be, automating certain parts of LinkedIn or email, or just setting up a phone call, and using some of those automations certainly helps save a lot of time. And some of the value that I think I've identified is that there's often a volume side of lead generation, that you do need to approach more people, and that generally we aren't approaching as many people as we need to in our businesses. And that's something I've identified. And it could be a time factor or resource factor, that we just don't have enough time as business owners, or that we don't have the correct systems in place to generate the leads. And it could just be that we're not confident in asking for our customers to work with us. So I often find that there's some customers who will be very focused on either marketing or sales, and there's not always a good balance between the two. So some will focus mostly on marketing and never come to actually asking for business. And then others that only ask for business, and they don't spend too much time focused about, building their brand and their marketing and content. So there's a volume side, and then there's a personalization side. And the more personalization you can have with your outreach or any type of marketing or messaging, it benefits the target audience, and you improve the conversion rates. So there's this interesting balance between having enough volume for your target audience and approaching enough people, and personalizing the messaging and specifically for that customer. So the first question I have when I speak to customers is what is the total addressable market for your product or service? And then through identifying that, we can decide a certain level of volume and personalization, and a nice balance between the two, to start marketing tactics and campaigns. And I think that combination of the two has allowed me to generate very good results on behalf of my customers, and train their staff on what to do and how to go about doing this process.
Mm, I like that. The balance between enough volumes versus the personalization that you need to do to trigger to someone to say, "Oh yes, I'd like to know more. I'd like to get involved. I'd like to buy." Yeah, and it's the personalization that probably triggers that. But yes, you can't do mass personalization, or maybe technologies will come that allow us to do that in time. So what I can sort of feel it, but what do you strive to be best at? What makes you exemplar in the marketplace?
Sure. I think the fact that my business cares about their customers and my customers as well, the fact that we care is my cornerstone of what I'm trying to achieve here. And that is ultimately to change the way the lead generation industry is operating, and the reputation it has built up for itself. So I think early on I identified that this industry in particular just doesn't have a great reputation. We always see adverts online that say, we'll get you 20 clients in the next 30 days, guaranteed. And that's absolutely fine. But when you start to explore these companies and how they're going to achieve the results, you've really got to think, is this right for me and my brand? And I think that's fine to choose a company that's going to send off thousands of emails a month. But ultimately, is it protecting your brand? And is it the best possible lead generation strategy you could use? And that bit's questionable, because the company who's going to do that for you, they're setting themselves up to generate the most amount of leads possible. But do they care about the brand? And do they care about the marketing and the rest of your reputation? And I think that's what I do particularly well, is that I care about actually how it comes across to the end user.
So yeah, I can definitely understand that. So you care about that rather than just getting the numbers, but clients want the numbers as well. So how do you balance then? You know, if I was to employ you, I need the numbers, Luke. And that's the lifeblood of my thing. How do you then balance that? That dichotomy almost between caring and getting the numbers as well. And finding the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So it depends completely on the type of business and the size of their total addressable market. So if, for example, you said to me, Luke, I've only got a market of 100 potential customers, then I would say, okay, we need to use an account-based marketing approach, which would be much more focused and intentional on the specific companies that we need to target and how do we impact and generate interest from that very small niche market. And on the flip side, if you said to me, actually, there are 100,000 businesses I could work with in the UK potentially, then I'd have to have I'd have to have a think about exactly what type of strategy would be best to target that many companies. And this is where normal lead generation company would come in and say, oh, well, we're going to target all of them and we're going to do an email blast to all of them. And it's going to be, fairly generic. It might change by industry, but actually it's, where I care about the end user and your reputation, I'd rather be smarter about how we go about doing those things. Um, and there's some very clever technology behind all this that allows you to um, allow for personalization while still using automation.
Hmm.
And I think that's some of the clever bits.
And I love automation to speed up and reduce my effort, improve my performance, improve my my language use, etc. So I love automation and the structures of it. So automations and personalizations. You're talking about technology. Are these technologies that you supply, or they exist and people can just go and buy them, or what?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are lots of different technologies. I have my own platform myself that I sometimes refer my customers to use that my own specific platform because I know it well. But there are so many different pieces of technology, and I would sort of suggest that if anybody's interested in looking into lead generation tools specifically, if you go to g2.com and you look at the lead generation tool section, it'll give you an insight into the number of different lead generation tools and pieces of software that are out there that could help you in different ways.
Yeah.
And that's been particularly helpful for me because I pride myself on keeping ahead of the industry and knowing what technology is out there to help me with lead generation. So that's been a particularly interesting area for me, and I love technology, and that's part of why I like lead generation so much, is because I can help my customers with the technology side and start these processes for them.
So you've been going 2 years. Give some examples. What sort of successes have you had for your clients?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. So, one of my favorite success stories is one of my first customers, actually. He was a consultant within the nuclear industry, and within a year from working together, we went from zero to working with three FTSE 100 companies and generated 2,000 people on his LinkedIn and 700 leads in total. So we had amazing impact very early on, and that person's doing incredibly well. So really really proud of our team there and what we did for him, and all of the clients I'm very fortunate to have worked with. They all remain in contact, and we get on incredibly well. and yeah, every client I work with has had very fortunately had some great success. So one of them the other week, we had uh, a meeting with another FTSE 100 company. And that was for a design content marketing company, and they sent me a WhatsApp and they said, "Luke, we just had a meeting with a FTSE 100 company, a VP FTSE 100," and they thought it was brilliant. They couldn't be, happier. So those wins like that are really important to reflect on. And yeah, I could talk a lot about, the successes we've had and how much I enjoy it as well. And working with these different people, they're absolutely fantastic.
So you've started your business 2 years now. You've been going. Yeah, it's just you at the moment. What what would you in the last 2 years go, I wish I didn't do that? What advice would you give to anybody that's starting up in the first 2 years of their business? What?
Yeah, absolutely. So I found for me that um, strategy, I had an idea of strategy in the beginning. I wrote my plan out and I went on this journey and I tried to sell this idea of lead generation to lots of people. Anyway, from that, I then learned more about the marketing side of things. And you what happens is when you do lead generation, you then are able to go back and look at your marketing and decide on strategy. And I think that's been very interesting for me, that lead generation often comes as something you do after marketing. But actually what I found is that if you don't have your product market fit yet, then actually doing lead generation is a really beneficial activity, because you're able to see the results and understand the impact on your pipeline, and then go backwards and look at your marketing and look at your strategy and reorganize and change and adapt quickly. And I think that's been probably one of the biggest learnings I've had since doing lead generation, is that actually you do the sales bit, which is a bit of lead generation, and then you go back and look at marketing, look at your strategy, and make changes and adapt as you go. And I think that ability to adapt quickly has been massively helpful. Um, However, you do need to change your strategy then and revisit your strategy and just and make those changes. And it's that, time and resource to actually do that effectively, and then go back again. And, it's this constant cycle of changing and adapting until you get this perfect product market fit and message market fit.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. I totally agree. Any business plan is not a one directional activity. I start here and I go here and I go there. It is a rinse and repeat process to improve and develop. And a lot of business people originally, when they build a business, think it's linear. Yeah, I'll just do A equals B equals C equals success. Actually, when you get involved, you actually have to go through that rinse repeat cycle. And what you've just actually described is doing that within the marketing and sales process. Yeah, but I like that idea that actually you may have an idea and you want to take it to marketplace, but until you generate some leads, so get on with making some leads, until you
Hmm.
make some sales, you don't actually know how that's going to work, and then feed that back into your marketing, improve it, feedback into your marketing. So yeah, brilliant. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So anything that's gone wrong, would you say to anybody, say, don't do this, maybe to think about this instead?
Oh, that's a good question. Is that it's gone wrong for the customers that I've worked with, that maybe I would have changed the strategy slightly? Is that what you mean?
Maybe, or just for yourself, of things that you've tried that you've gone, yeah, actually, don't do this next time, guys.
That's a good one. I'll have a think about that. I think, yeah, it's a difficult one. I can't say that every strategy has worked straight away, but I think I'm quite quick to adapt, and I do focus quite a lot um, on the impact I can make early on. So I think maybe that adaptability and um, quick to change uh, attitude does help in some situations. And then there are times when it's better to knuckle down on what works and what you see working and identify that early on and focus on it. So um, I think that there's always things that I would look at changing myself with some of the previous campaigns that we've done. I think ultimately improving the targeting of the campaigns has always been very important. Um, I think there's only a couple of things you can really do to improve the campaigns if you think about it in marketing, which is you improve your targeting or you improve your messaging. And when you break it down, it's actually very simple. It's how many people you speak to, and it's how well you target those people, what and then what you say to them, and exactly what was your offer, what just really understanding what drives action with the messaging. Yeah.
So to date, have you gone about finding your clients then?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I use my own lead generation strategies and I want to set an example for my customers about exactly, so I focus very much on high personalization and lower volume, but I'm very specific about who I approach. So I want to work with high growth companies, and that's very important to me. Um, and the other thing that's important is that those companies see exactly how good lead generation can be. So separating myself out from the noise and being unique has been very important to me. And I pass that message on to my clients as well. So I often use video quite a lot. So I'm a big fan of building relationships through using things like video or account-based marketing. So speaking to you specifically about your specific needs and problems and understanding that person as an individual rather than a mass target audience. As you know, we're all individuals. So if, for example, someone spoke to me about something I hold dear or something that am passionate about, then I'm more likely to start a conversation with them. So the simple example of this I was speaking to someone about recently would be if you just look at their LinkedIn page, you may identify that actually they're into a certain, I don't know, sport or they have certain interests. So then an example could be, okay, if that person's, say, for example, into Formula One, then you could send them a postcard with a Formula One car on it, and on the back you may say, "Hi, I'm Luke. I have a lead generation business. I'd love to speak to you specifically because I think I can add real value. I'd love to book in a meeting with you. Here's a QR code. That QR code goes to a landing page with a video of you and is explaining what your business is, the impact you can make, and allows them to book in a meeting if they like, if they want to move forward. And part of what I do differently is I look at multi-channel campaigns as well. So say if you take that as just one bit of the campaign, we'd then look at, all right, well, does that person actually receive a LinkedIn connection following that? And following that, do we actually say thank you for connecting if they do connect? And certainly we don't want to go straight into selling. So let's leave it for a week or so before just jumping in. Allow them to see some of the content you're posting on LinkedIn before you say anything. Further on from there, I've suggested that people use things like video to contact their customers instead of sending a message by text. And the reason is because that that's not automated in that case. That actually they've received a personalized video from that person. And the feedback we get from this is that people will respond even if they're not interested. And I think that shows good, intent, because by them responding and saying, well, thank you, that's clearly made quite a lot of effort in doing that. That's a good sign, because if you do that enough times, you'll find that people actually respect the fact that you've gone out of your way to show that you care. So there's all these little tips essentially that I can give towards creating a campaign that's really personalized, multi-channel, and that actually we're showing we really care about the customer. I think email is one of the last things I would do, although it's often useful to send an email before calling, because they're able to, that's the first thing. If you are going to call, the first thing they're going to say is, "Oh, can you send me an email?" And if they're not really interested, is, "Oh, can you send me an email?" And that's absolutely fine. But if you've already sent them an email, for example, then at least you've already automated that bit potentially. So there's a very clever way we can set up the campaign with most personalization, least amount of time, and overall just the best impact per person.
Wow, brilliant. Yes, just giving us some even more advice as we're exploring down there. Uh, okay, you're a small business owner, just you. How do you manage your time? How do you not get overwhelmed by, oh, crikey, I've got everything to do and I've got Saturday and Sundays to work, etc., etc. What's your tips and thoughts around that?
That's an interesting one. I think part of being a business owner, I guess, I am in the evenings responding to emails, unfortunately. But I think sometimes that's part of in my mindset, how I have to respond quickly to customers. Um, and I enjoy what I do as well. So I think that's really important. If I didn't enjoy what I did, I don't think I'd have as much motivation to go in and as much passion about my subject. So the fact that I really care about it, it does certainly help me. Um, but otherwise, in terms of managing my time, I'm a big fan of using my calendar and scheduling things ahead of time where I can. I usually block out my calendars, so pretty much every day for the next couple of weeks or 3 weeks will be full. Um, but I also use different tactics like the important and urgent matrix. If I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed, I would look at that and think, actually, what's really important today, and what can I get done? And just taking that step back certainly helps me. Um, and I think that's just some of the tactics that I've used personally. I'm a big fan of Hubspot as well, so I use Hubspot in my daily business life, and I just find it's a fantastic tool to help streamline customer experiences and within my business. So by having a contact record, I'm able to record everything against every customer. I'm able to create tickets for each customer and create tasks for sales activity and following up with people. So just using some of those, tools, that certainly helps me in my business.
Yeah. And what do you love the most about your business?
That's an interesting question. It's got to be the people. Yeah, I just love the clients I work with, and I just think I'm so passionate about their businesses as well, and it's building a strong relationship with them, and that's what really, yeah, I get a kick out of is building really strong, long-lasting relationships where people know they like me, they can trust me, and that I'm adding real value to their business. So I think that's what I get a kick out of. I like to generate new business and new relationships and new opportunities. Um, and I just try and focus on adding the highest amount of impact I can.
Brilliant. Well, here's a new question for 2024. A business person that you highly respect, yeah, and any business person, running and built a business, really successful. What one question, if you could sit down with them and you've only got 2 minutes, what one question would you ask them and why?
I think I'd be interested in uh, the channels they've used to become successful. And I think I'd be very interested in what did they specifically do to get such great results with that specific channel. And I think by diving into that, you can find out what channels work best for that specific audience. And I find that most interesting. So with my clients and the number of different companies I speak with, where they have one particularly good channel and they focused on that channel, say it's SEO, one of my clients generates 120 leads per month from SEO alone, and that's fantastic. And another, they focus mostly on email and calling, and they've grown to a £2 million business within a very short amount of time. And it's just understanding how they've gone about being successful and what did they focus on.
Yeah.
And I find that particularly interesting to me.
Oh, Luke, thank you very much. So, let's meet up in 5 years' time. We'll have a coffee, yeah, and a discussion about how the business has grown. What's going to happen over the next 5 years to make that a real success for you, both professionally and personally?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a plan which I've gone through with a consultant, which essentially gives me the first year plan and then a third year plan and a 5 year plan. So that journey along this next 5 years is going to be particularly interesting. But my plan is to grow a team around me that are able to facilitate some of these lead generation tools and tactics that I've been promoting to my customers. And um, essentially, my biggest passion is managing people and managing teams as well. So I love lead generation, but that's why I like going into companies and helping their teams um, and upskilling them in lead generation, because I just love the coaching and leadership opportunities that come with managing a team. And I just find that that's something I've always been passionate about. It goes right back to when I first started in sales. And the manager I had at that time, she was absolutely fantastic. And I wasn't a particularly good salesperson back then. I still don't claim to be now, but but they saw something in me and said, how did you sell this many of this type of product? And I was saying, well, I don't really know, I just did my job. And they were so overwhelmingly happy with my performance that I was motivated to do better. And I think that led on to me doing particularly well within sales and business to business sales throughout my career. And I've gone on to manage teams and in sales and marketing, and consequently, I find that's one of my biggest passions is coaching and training people and helping them improve.
Well, interestingly, that's one of the reasons I'm a business coach. I get really excited when people achieve what they want to achieve through mentoring and coaching that I bring. So yes, I fully understand that. Well, Luke, what a fantastic conversation today. A real passion that here is within you about thinking about how you help your clients, and you help your clients through lead generation. You help that you want to change the marketplace, so it's not a difficult thing. It's not something that people are selling and mis-selling. You want to protect your clients' brands. That focus on caring. I love that word that you used in there. Caring about your clients, caring about how they go into the marketplace, so they're not affecting their brand through the process of lead generation, which every business needs to do in order to grow. I really love the conversation about that balance between, enough volume and having the personalization, and that balance and getting it right and truly understanding that. And that comes from understanding your clients first and understanding what they want to go and what they need to do. But what you also bring is that mentoring and coaching for their teams to develop their internal capabilities. And what I liked through that is it's not just about getting more leads. It's not just about improving the internal operations with the business and smoothing things out and making things more effective. It's also about saving time for the business owner, because they're no longer having to worry, learn to chase, to make things happen, to think of making it all. So they've got that time. And I love that whole idea of it becomes down to time saving. So it's been a fantastic conversation, and so you've given us some real great hints and tips buried in all that. And I implore everybody to go back and re-listen to this and really think about personalization versus volume and how you can do the best you can. And you even gave us the tip of going to g2.com and looking up lead generation tools and really thinking about how you can improve through automation and personalization. So, Luke, thank you so much for this great conversation. We always finish with a quick fire round, if I may. If you would go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
What advice would I give myself? I'd probably want to motivate myself in some way. So I would want to say to my younger self, look, don't give up. You've got this. You're going to do it. You're going to be fine. Go for it. Do your best. And that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Any books, business or non-business, that you recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm constantly reading about my own subject and lots of different subjects within digital marketing. But Alex Hormozi's £100 million leads, that's a recent book that's come out that I think's been really impactful for the lead generation industry, and he's beautifully explained the different quadrants you can have in lead generation and how to generate more leads. And I completely agree with what he said there, and I'm using it even within my own business to explain simply exactly the different areas of lead generation you could focus on.
I totally agree with that book. I read it. I've read it 3 times already, and thinking and using it already in my business as well. Podcasts? Any podcasts you recommend?
Only yours, Granger.
Thank you very much.
I don't. Otherwise, I don't particularly listen to many podcasts. Occasionally go onto YouTube and listen to some podcasts on there. But yeah, I'll be listening to yours after this, I think, Granger.
Thank you. Onto your mobile phone, are there any apps that make a difference for you?
That's a good question. I think HubSpot in particular has been very helpful for me as an app on my phone. Also, constantly using LinkedIn as a source for new business, and LinkedIn Sales Navigator, the app as well. That's also useful. Within that app, there's an easy way to view a target audience and engage with specific profiles on there, so you can sort of shortlist your clients into your target audience into a small list and start engaging with those profiles. I think that's quite effective as well. So yeah, those 3 I would say.
My favorite question of all: who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah, that's a tough one. I can't think off the top of my head. I know that I look up to my dad a lot, so he's done particularly well in business and has his own business in Abu Dhabi. So I think I speak to him regularly and look up to him a lot. So I'd say my dad on that one.
Brilliant. Well, Luke, final question of all: how can people get hold of you?
So if you'd like to get in touch, please go to my website. So that's bravura.digital. So that's BRAVURA.digital. Or you can give me a call on 077 986 77316, and I'll be happy to have a chat and go from there. But yeah, happy to offer a free consultation and to explore your business more.
Brilliant. Luke, thank you for an amazing conversation today.
Oh, thank you, Granger. You too. I really enjoyed that.
I hope you enjoyed that. discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.